And welcome to For The Bounce. I'm Greg Anderson, your host, my co-host Matty Knight. Isn't this absolutely fantastic? Live at the Alma, talking footy, talking sport, absolutely brilliant.
Mate, it's great to be here, brand new show for the SA Footballer as well. So, we've got a lot of sport to talk and especially a lot of footy, so it's going to be great fun, mate.
We're going to cover Amateur League, the AFL, SNFL,
Country footy,
of course.
Yeah, and then obviously a couple of special little segments as well with yourself. So, it's going to be great.
We've got some fantastic guests, and no better, let me tell you, than my good friend Kim Costa. Welcome, Kim.
G'day, Ando. Great to be here, mate.
Fantastic, isn't it?
It is absolutely unbelievable.
Nice,
it is.
All that sort of stuff.
It is, you know.
It's a little bit more pressure than normal.
Lots of pressure. Lots.
Yeah.
It's good.
We were talking before, we'll just talk a little bit about SNFL, just briefly. You were actually captain of 2 SNFL clubs, and that's a real rarity. That's I didn't realise that. I know I made you captain at South Adelaide. Can't believe it. But anyway, and then of course you left there, went to Glenelg, and was also captain of Glenelg at 2 SNFL clubs.
Yeah, that's right. So thank you for that. Thanks for giving that honour of captaining the club. And then I don't know if you actually the one that sort of was behind me leaving to the other club, or if it was Clay Sampson. I think he actually wanted to be the captain, and I believe maybe got a player revolt and said, look, let's move him on because I want that.
I felt that pressure as well, and I reckon that's why now he got you employed at Fleurieu Milk.
Exactly. I think he felt that bad and lived with him for that long that now I'm employed by Fleurieu, and he's now my boss. He's now my captain.
That's unreal, isn't it?
That is.
Unreal.
It's in full circle.
Just quickly on the Fleurieu Milk stuff, and before we get into the AFL and SNFL, you brought some yogurts in. It's new. It's a fantastic range. Tell us a little bit about it, because it's just not your normal.
Yeah, look, Fleurieu Milk, we like to do things differently, and it's going really well. But we've actually just teamed up with the Something Wild, so the famous Motlop brothers.
Yep, fantastic.
They've got the Something Wild store in the markets, and happened about 2 years ago. We caught up with Daniel, and we went through some of the products that he used, and we thought, well, you know what, this could work in a yogurt. So we launched it about 3 weeks ago. And it's going really well, and it's a great thing because it actually gives back to the communities and helps Indigenous have jobs in those communities. So it's fantastic. It's going really well.
Well, before we just get on to the AFL for all the viewers out there, dual premiership player, which is fantastic with the Crows. Played 4 or 5 years of Western Bulldogs before you came back. That would have been fantastic. To get drafted from South Adelaide and then head over to Victoria and play for the Bulldogs.
Yeah, look, it was interesting because I had a couple of mates who got drafted before me to the Crows, in Randall Bone and Chris Groom and those guys.
Yep.
And what happened was, I remember that they had a moratorium on the Crows, Adelaide players getting drafted, because the Crows come in 91, and so no one can be drafted for 2 years outside of that. And then those guys who were my mates got there before me, so I was pretty dirty on Adelaide for not picking me up.
Dirty at all?
No, nah. But no, you know what?
Grudge too, I reckon.
Well, I didn't get invited to your 30th, but we'll maybe bring that up a bit later. No, it's like going to Victoria is probably really what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Get outside of Adelaide and go to the Victorian footy where it was all happening. So the Bulldogs, great footy club, played with some great players, and I feel really lucky that
Victoria, of course, Brownlow medalists.
Yep, Scott Wine, Doug Hawkins, unbelievable. And you know what? I feel pretty lucky that I played in that era with some absolute legends and superstars of the game, and I think we can still actually enjoy footy and have fun and not have, I suppose, the pressure that they do these days.
Yeah.
And Kim, you talk about playing in a great era, obviously with the Crows as well. What was some of your best memories of playing footy in that time?
Look, I think your best memories are just being around the footy club with all your mates. I think when you finish playing, that's the biggest thing that you actually miss, is playing with all those guys. And there's some absolute legends and characters at the Adelaide Footy Club as well. And that's probably the thing that I miss the most about playing footy.
Now, what about the Crows so far this year? Everyone's sort of saying a little bit flat, and I know you've got your finger on the pulse down there, but probably, again, last week, disposal in front of goals at third quarter. Really, they should have probably been 4 or 5 up at the main break.
Yeah, look, I don't know about having the finger on the pulse. I just think, in general, the AFL is a little bit weird to start with again this year. I was just talking to Brett Backwell before, he's going to be one of your special guests.
Very special guest.
Yeah, about the football. And 2017 was a really weird year when Adelaide ended up finishing top. And I think maybe it's going to happen again. Like it's, you know, I thought Essendon were going to be good. They've sort of only won their first game last week, so I don't think that Adelaide are too far away. They've got some great players, they've got some great talent, and I don't think they're too far away of actually putting it all together. You know what? It is round 3, so you know we've still got a fair way to go.
Yeah, and with the Power as well, obviously the other South Australian team, they've started pretty well. Got a red hot Brisbane on the weekend, but a young player by the name of Connor Rosie. SA boy being very impressive.
Yeah, look, he was magnificent. I think round 1 he's really good. Probably round 2 maybe a little bit quiet, but he was very special. I think he's got a pretty big future. I've got some mates who sort of do a little bit of recruiting, and I spoke to them last year before he was picked up, and they said he was a huge talent. So I think they've got a fair way. They've got a lot of young kids that are playing really well for them.
And some of the standout sides so far, I mean, you look at Geelong, and obviously Hawthorn. I mean, they were very powerful that first game we were all able to watch against the Crows. I mean, that's again those two clubs. We're talking decade after decade. I mean, how do they do it?
Yeah, I don't know. Look, Hawthorn. I did go and watch that game. They just had I think better game plan than what Adelaide did, and they've got some great players. Like Sean Burgoyne's been an absolute star. I suppose with him, I don't think he played last week, injured, is that right? Yeah, so they miss guys like that, but great coach. Alex Clarkson is a superstar coach. I didn't think actually Geelong were going to be that good this year, but you've got Ablett who's come back after probably not going that great the year before, and he's playing well, and you've got Dangerfield. They've got a pretty good list.
If you've got the core, probably Port Adelaide's pretty similar, isn't it? You've got the core, and they say, oh wow, they moved out 9 or 10 players. Probably a little bit like Geelong, but you've got those core superstars. All of a sudden, the pressure is off them a little bit because the exciting players and the fast players need to lift and give them that support.
Yeah, they do, and I think at the end of the day, when you're bringing in youth, the young kids that everyone's played so far have actually gone well, and I think as you get older and you're sort of on the way out, and you've got young kids that bring in that enthusiasm, you get excited for that.
And obviously 2019 has seen some pretty interesting rule changes all so far, Kim. What are your thoughts on them so far? Is there a couple you like, or something you think that needs to be
Yeah, look, I just think they muck it around with the game probably a little bit too much. I'm not a real fan of the actual kick-in rule. Purely I think,
it's been part of our game since
it has. It has. I think it could get dangerous towards the end of the year when you're talking finals. There's going to be guys, instead of sort of maybe making it a little bit rehearsed and taken out of bounds, they're going to rush a point, because if you've got 10 metres and you can take on and without making a mistake by kicking it to yourself, I reckon it could change games.
It makes it hard. We'll talk about the SNFL. We've got a break shortly. That all these rules changes is great for the AFL, but how does it fit in when you've got volunteers and obviously a lot less numbers of support staff in the SNFL? So we've sort of come to that. We've got 2 games going at the moment.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not a fan of all of them. I think some of them are okay, but look, I'm a sort of, I suppose, a bit of a old-fashioned or realist. You know what? We played footy for the contest, and I suppose at the end of the day, it's getting a little bit away from that. You're not allowed to. I don't think the players.
It's a game now, isn't it?
Well, it is. It is. I don't know if the players really know what they're doing in bumping and.
The one with Scott Lycett.
Oh, it is. It's ludicrous. Hogan on the weekend. I don't know. We play football to have contact, and I don't think the guys really know what they can and can't do.
That's the question, isn't it? I mean, how confident are players now going 110% of the ball, which you're always told by the coach, and think, well, hang on, if I do go at that cracking speed, am I going to cop a week that nowadays could cost you 10 grand?
Yeah, well, you know what, talking about old teammates, Clay Sampson, the guy who employed me actually. So we'll talk about that today, about the rule. When you're kids, you're told to go hard at the ball, get down low, that whole into the knees. Now I think the players have actually gone, right, I can milk this, get free kicks by taking my legs. He took my legs out, free kicks. So I just think there's too many changes. Make it 1 or 2 a year, not 5 or 6.
Yeah. Stay with us. We're just going to go for a short break, and we'll just talk just want to talk a bit about the SANFL. Back short. And welcome back to Before the Bounce. I'm Greg Anderson with Matty Knights, live at the Alma. It's been great so far.
Mate, so far so good. Kim's been great and plenty to talk about AFL.
Plenty to talk about Kim in the AFL and also the SNFL. And I just want to run through some of the games this week, and that's been sponsored by now Knowles Caravan, which I think you're right. I reckon Neil Kelly's not doing the advertising for Knowles now, and I reckon it might be old coach Nathan Blythe.
I reckon you're right, but I love Knowles because he had the same legs as me. Neil Kelly's got the old bent legs, and had a few mates used to take it out and he says, "That's my dad." So you know.
Would you all jokes aside, would you have trouble walking out of a caravan with that step?
Nah.
No.
I'd jump
I'd
out.
like to see it.
I'd jump
I
out,
reckon
mate.
years to come, you'll do Knowles. Now, quickly we'll go to Thursday night, which we got the Swans versus Melbourne.
Yep.
So
My-
two sides have
mate,
just probably Melbourne's been pretty average, and Swans sort of have shown a little bit anyway.
Well, my footy tips haven't been great. I'm actually taking Sydney.
Yep.
I just don't reckon Melbourne are gelling at the moment. I don't really know what's going on there, but tanking, I'm not sure. That's been brought up. Nah, look, I'm going Sydney, but I don't trust me.
Yeah.
I've been on Melbourne every week so far and they've
Yeah.
let me down, so I'm going to back them again because they're due to turn it around, I reckon.
Okay. What about Collingwood and the Bulldogs on Friday night?
I'm taking Collingwood. I just think they're just a bit more polished. I think the Bulldogs, hey, they've started well, don't worry.
Yeah.
But I just think Collingwood are going to be too good.
Still a big soft spot for the Bulldogs. But
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I do. It's but the thing is, there's a lot of blokes. Well, there's not many blokes there, or not any at all.
But you're right about being raw. You know, we'll speak to Johnny Putton about later. And when you start, mentioning some of those names that you play with, like Dougie Hawkins and Liberatoria, and I'm thinking, oh wow, went there was was Simon Madden and Tim Watson, and these big names. And we're young kids going over to Melbourne to have a crack at it. Big names, they're big names, and it's raw footy.
It is raw, and like I said, I'm lucky that I played in that era. I reckon. Whereas there are some great players playing today, but I don't think they're allowed to be what they used to be. There's, the stars aren't really there anymore.
Yeah. What about Geelong and the Giants? That's going to be obviously the match of the round, no question.
Yeah, I don't think Geelong can be beaten down on their home ground. They've probably only lost 5 in their last 5 years down there, so I'm definitely Geelong.
Geelong very good, and I reckon they've actually looked better this year, and they'll certainly make a play for the top couple, I reckon, come season.
And you're right, Matt.
Bombers Lions. Bombers showed a bit last. They were terrible that first week. That was embarrassing against St Kilda. But last week were good against Melbourne. But
they were. We've spoke about the Bombers, and I'm actually right behind the Lions. I'm actually a fan at the moment. I reckon they're playing great footy.
They were good last year.
They
Lions
were.
good
Look,
last year.
the inclusion of the ex-Glenelg boy Lockie Neal.
Yeah.
I'm a bit of a fan favourite of Lockie, and I reckon Brisbane.
Yeah, they're a great team to watch, and I think it's everyone's second team at the moment. So, they're great to watch play.
And Power Richmond. I mean, a lot of the ball last week with Power Richmond. I think they're struggling a bit. What about some of their injuries? I mean, we're talking biggest names in AFL, and they're out injured for them.
I actually don't think I've ever picked the Power to win. My dad's a mad Port supporter.
Yeah.
Go figure.
Yeah.
And I just can't pick them. It's by heart, not head.
Yeah. But what about your dad's era though? We're talking Brucey Light, Russell Ebert, Brian Cunningham, Johnny Cole, Darryl Cole, Timmy Evans.
My dad named
It's
my
not a
younger.
bad- it's
my
not
dad.
a bad team to barrack for
My
back in those
dad
days.
named my younger brother Dwayne, and his middle name is Russell, so Dwayne Russell. So go figure that out. Yeah, seriously. Port have got Richmond at the perfect time.
I
They're
agree.
4 best players, maybe actually 5 best players out.
Martin out for a week as well, so.
5 best players. And look, they should win, but I'm actually tipping the Tigers.
North versus the Crows. I mean, Crows have been getting plenty of the ball. I mean, that third quarter they had 11 shots at goals, they kicked a couple of goals, lots of points and one out in the full. Let's not bring that up. I mean, how can someone miss from that? Today's footy anyway.
Yeah, okay, you're not talking about handball, the look away handball.
Well, there was a lot happening in that third quarter that just went wrong.
Look, I'm going Adelaide. I just think North is struggling at the moment, but they're zipping 3. They're going to come out pretty hard, I reckon. But I am going Adelaide. I think that'll be too good.
Yeah, being a North supporter, it's been very frustrating to watch them at the moment. So yeah, hopefully they bounce back this week. But I think the Crows might be too good for
The
us.
big derby down the West Coast versus Freo. That's going to be a good game, that one.
Yeah, West
Yeah,
Coast.
yeah.
West Coast for me. You know, Fife out. Well, meant to be out. They're saying he might play.
Meant to be out, might play. Yeah.
I reckon it'll be a last-minute decision if they bring him in or not.
They played well last week. I'm going Freo.
Yeah, well, I'm going West Coast, but that rule, we talk about rule changes and everything else in the AFL. The head knocks are massive at the moment. Shouldn't be playing. Anyone who gets concussion and can't come back on the ground, honestly, shouldn't play.
Yeah.
If that's what they're trying to
Yep.
instill.
Well, they bring it in at local level that it's
Yep.
automatic 2 weeks. No matter how serious it was, 2 weeks straight up.
Sure.
So there's got to be something like
Yep.
that. You know?
Gold Coast, Carlton.
I'm actually going Carlton.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I really don't, because I really like Gold Coast. I've watched a few Carlton games this year, and they've actually gone pretty well for 3 quarters. They just can't hold on for 4.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, Gold Coast have been okay too, but I'm just going to go Carlton. I just feel
I'm with
they're
you.
due.
I'm
They're
with
due
you.
for a
I'm with
win.
you. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to go against both of you.
course you
I've
would
been
be.
watching Gold Coast flat out the last couple of weeks, and they're playing some pretty impressive footy. So whatever Stewie Jew's doing up there, it's working at the moment.
St Kilda versus Hawthorn. I mean, you know.
Look, I'm not a huge fan of St Kilda at all. And if one of my mates is watching, I'm definitely not going St Kilda. Look, I think Hawthorn is a good. I think they're going to be
Real
good.
deal, I think.
Yep.
Again.
Yep. I think so.
Yeah. So.
I'm with you there. They'll be right back up the top, I reckon.
Right, we've covered all the tips, and of course that's thanks to Noel's Caravans.
How does that jingle go?
It's
You
a
know it.
shocking jingle, mate.
You know it.
Can you-
Say it. No.
I reckon Noel's Caravan. We'll get a bit of a sing next week. I reckon.
I reckon we should.
I want to get the words right. I don't want to embarrass myself too much. No, we'll just touch a little bit on the SNFL.
Yep.
And we just spoke before about all the rule changes now they're going into, you know, semi-professional. How do you introduce those rule changes into a semi-professional, league? And these players, I suppose, need to know these rules because they're, the future of the AFL. It's just a really hard balance.
It is extremely hard balance, especially when these guys, they've got to do a bit of research themselves too because they're actually working full time. They don't get the luxury of playing football full time, so it is difficult. They introduced some last year that I thought were okay. You know, that the out of bounds last touch is probably not too bad. It's it took me a while to get my head around it, but it's probably not too bad. You would have loved it because you were always. I'm taking that another stat. You would have loved it.
And I thought I'd be kicking goals as well.
But like I said, the kicking one, I'm not a fan of. But SNFL and AFL is completely different when you go and watch. It is a little bit different. There is a little bit more you can get away with in contests and those sorts of things. But
They seem to still hold their centre half forwards and full forwards who actually like watching, which is really good. One thing I want to touch on, and you look at the premiership table, and North won last week, but they're still -2. Now, I just don't understand. They sort of got punished last year, but it goes into this year. So if you're a young kid that comes up from the 17s or 19s to make your senior debut, it's going to be pretty hard to make the finals. So you're not really punishing last year for what they did last year. You're punishing a lot of the new players to the club. I just think that it's a big. I thought it was just a really interesting call, punishing for 2019, and they get away with 2008. And obviously they're guilty on something.
sure. I really don't know if they got punished at all, to be quite honest. At the end of the day, I don't know.
Costa that said that.
I don't know what the punishment is. You know what? They win a grand
Punishing
final.
young kids coming to the
Well,
club.
they win a grand final and they got a $10,000 fine, which I'm sure they probably just could have got that out the other table, the draw. But end of the day, Josh Carr as a coach, you've coached a lot of footy. Would you care, honestly, being 4 points behind when you won a flag the year before? Would you really think that's
Premierships are, everything, and I was lucky enough to coach Hallett Cove to a premiership. It was one of the best days of my life. Everything's relevant. It was one of the best days of my life. Next year, I don't really worry about that then, but I've got the premiership now because it's very rare you got to win 2 in a row.
Correct.
And I feel very,
Correct. Oh,
So-
it's probably very lucky.
Yeah.
You make your own luck too.
I know.
So,
And just quickly before we finish, boys, the question I want to ask both of you: South, 2 nice wins early. How do you reckon they're going to go this year?
they'll get beat this weekend against the Bays on Saturday. purely because my son plays down there as well. So
yeah.
and I look at, I play with both clubs. I played all my junior football with South
Adelaide.
and I love the football club.
Captain of the South. Oh, you're captain of the North as well.
Yeah. Look, I ended up
career.
playing
Where are you?
my last few years at Glenelg. They weren't as successful as I wanted to be, but I still obviously have a relationship with them because my son's gone right through the juniors, and I still have some mates that I catch up with down there.
Yeah,
and South,
Thanks for so much for enjoying our first show live at the Alma before the bounce. Kimmy, wonderful to see you again. We'll take a short break and we'll be back after.